Welcome back to Patient Win Insider. I'm Nick Moen, and today I'm joined by Dr. Gregory Wu, founder of Emerson Dental, with locations in Westford and Bedford, Massachusetts. Dr. Wu has built a reputation for pioneering tech-forward care, integrating AI, same-day crowns, 3D printing, and cloud-based systems to enhance both patient experience and clinical efficiency. Today, we're diving into what's working, what's broken, and where the future of dentistry is heading. So let's get into it. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Nick. Excited to be here.
Awesome. So if you could fill your schedule with just one type of case or patient, what would that look like?
I would say that's actually why I stayed in general dentistry and I'm multi-specialty practice. I'm not looking for that one thing. I actually enjoy the best is building the relationships with my patients and showing them the new technology that we've integrated and how we have a commitment to continuous improvement in dentistry. I'm sure you've heard of the term Kaizen. It's continuous improvement. Every day I come to work, I'm looking for methods to make myself better, my patient better, and my team better.
So maybe thinking about the most rewarding cases, what really makes it rewarding for those patients or specific procedures? What stands out for you there?
Well, obviously, everybody thinks about the dentist and they think about their smile. So I would say the most rewarding is when we change the patient's smile. It's a smile design cases. Um, you know, I always tell people we're making smiles figuratively and literally. So as dentists, we literally make them smile, but figuratively, when they come to our office, we want them to enjoy experience. Maybe I'll tell them some bad jokes and that'll get them to laugh a little bit. So or whatever else it is we can do.
So aside from jokes, what stands out with Emerson patient experience? What other considerations do you have when they get in the door?
Well, one of the things is because we have CEREC and we also have an in-house lab technician, we can actually customize their smile, stain teeth, design everything, and then same day if they want that, we can actually do a same day smile. If someone says, "Hey, they just have to give this the day," because we can have everything done and they don't have to be in temporaries, and everything can be done in a day.
Wow. So with that technology, are you using zirconium or porcelain, or what's your system for the lab?
Our go-to is Emacs because with CEREC, Emacs is the bread and butter. That doesn't mean can't do zirconia. It also allows us to do zirconia, but Emacs is really the standard, if you ask me. And then obviously with the CEREC machine, we can actually, modify and we can do other blocks that they have, composite blocks, hybrids, and what have you.
Okay. And fixing the smiles, how are you attracting kind of these ideal cases where you really get to, bring people in smiling and have them leave with even better smile?
It all starts with a relationship, Nick. Certainly we can advertise, but having the relationship and having the internal referrals in our business, that's been our biggest success. When Mrs. Jones comes in and has a great experience, and she'll refer her friends, her family, her daughter, her cousin, even her neighbor. And somewhere along the line, one of those patients will have that, hey, you know what? I've been looking for someone that does all these things. And with our practice, we're multi-specialty. So we have a periodontist, we have an endodontist, and we have pediatric dentists within our group. Because of that, we kind of all inclusive to take care of everything for the patient from age 1 to age 99 or and above.
Yeah. Well, and what's your relationship with Emerson at this point? And how much are you communicating with the patients?
I still see my patients, on a regular basis. I go in between the two locations, but I now have a full-time associate general dentist in both locations, and they're the main caregivers and they're the main one doing clinic. I always tell patients when they see me, I'm kind of the backup dentist. When they're on vacation, when they're out, that's when I come in. I occasionally do a hygiene check or I come in and say hello to the ones that my longtime patients that really want to see me. But for the most part, with two locations and about 6,000 patients, I'm more in the admin side now, staying ahead, dealing with HR, and I have 26 employees. So because of that, it's not a small little mom and pop shop office anymore. When we first started, that's what we started as. It was myself, two hygienists, an office manager, and a front desk, and it was five chairs. And everybody knew everybody and everybody knew where everything was going. But you know, that old saying, you're a victim of your own success. As we got busier and as we grew, we had a shift. We were no longer that mom and pop, and we had to build systems and communication systems. And then as we even got bigger, I had a lead assistant, I had a lead hygienist, I had a lead front desk, and then we would have leadership meetings. So, and who knows where things are going to go. I always said to my team, I'll do this as long as it's still fun. If it's not, then, it's time for me to go.
So how long ago did you start Emerson?
I took over the original owner, which is what when I said to you was a mom and pop shop back in 2010. I was an associate in the office. I've been an associate in the office since 2007. The previous owners, kind of said to me, "Hey, I'm looking to get out," and I had to make a choice. I'm like, either I buy the place or I have to look for a new job because I knew the new owner wasn't going to keep me on because it wasn't large enough of an office.
Sure. And so what does success look like now? Does that include growth or what are some factors that you're looking for when it comes to success?
I think it's obviously that definition is different for everyone. For me, it's just about the relationships I build. It's not about getting bigger. I've done that journey. So the Westford location was a transition practice. The Bedford location was a scratch startup. So what I tell dentists and patients is like, I've kind of done both. There were just journeys I wanted to do. The scratch startup was hard. I'm not going to lie to you. But the transition was hard too. And I like to say that I have the experience of both. And, it's one of those things. If I was laying on my deathbed, I would have said, hey, you know what? I wonder what my life would have been like if I did this, if I stood a startup. And that's really what I did it for. Because I remember when I was going to do the second location, everybody talked me out of it. They're like, don't do it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of risk. And, and I did the genius thing, Nick. I did the genius thing of opening and doing a scratch startup right before COVID. It
Oh,
was November of 2019. Everybody had been telling me that, and we opened and we were rocking and rolling. And then, March 2020, everybody remembers that time.
yeah.
The whole world shut down. And I remember looking at my wife and I'm like, holy crap. I just took a $1.6 million loan and I can't see patients there. This isn't good.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about stress. And it's like all the naysayers wanted to come out and say, I told you shouldn't have done it. It was too much risk. It was a bad idea.
So then once the offices opened back up, what did that look like? Like how
You know,
quickly did you see success or yeah.
but we're still chugging along. We're okay. I'm not going to tell you we're rocking and rolling. I think COVID's changed everything. I think we're still not fully recovered. There's still industries that aren't. I would tell you that dentistry hasn't fully recovered. I say this to all the practice owners out there and even for the patients. Most dental offices are struggling on staffing. They're
Okay.
struggling finding people. My team, my office too. We're struggling to have not the people, but even the right people, and the right training because was a good segment of our industry that left. COVID that just said, you know what, I'm done. I don't. It's too risky for me, and we lost a great generation of dental healthcare workers because they were near retirement anyway, so they said, this is a sign for me. But they had so much knowledge and experience to pass on to these next generations. But since they're not in it anymore, a lot of these younger guys and gals are learning on the fly.
Yeah. Well, what does your ideal staff look like? Like what do you look for when you're hiring?
It's all about their desire for growth, their desire to get better. We talked about Kaizen. Are they going to want to continuously improve? That's exactly kind of what I want look for. Attitude's everything. If they don't have the skill set, I can train them on it as long as they're willing to have the right attitude. As far as, young, old, I like to have a mix because like I said to you, I like to have the mentorship from the veterans to the newbies and all between in between. I think if you're heavy on one or the other, it's never great.
Maybe going back to some of the tech side, tell me about how you're implementing AI and 3D printing, scanning, and how does the lab work? Like, what does that look like?
So I still have an in-house lab technician. He does the stuff offsite, but with Sarek, I mean, we really don't need him for the single unit crowns. He really does the bigger things. We 3D print night guards. We 3D print patients models. So I'm a Gen Xer, so I'm a that actual last generation that did not have technology, that did not have internet, that had the old schools. I was probably the last generation of dentists that we used the goopy impression material. I was the last generation of dentists that we actually had film and we developed it. So a lot's changed in the last 20 years when I've been practicing. We use digital scanners. I think very few offices are still taking impressions other than the bigger cases. And then when you're talking about scanning, digital x-rays, and when you talk about AI, you know, AI, there's so much use for it. I just integrated about 3 weeks ago Mango Voice's AI receptionist or AI agent. So we talked about being short staffed. If one of my staff can't pick up the phone, the AI agent will answer the phone. Now, is it perfect? Absolutely not. It's still just in the beginning stages, but it's still a relief because it can direct patients when their appointments are, if they want to reschedule some simple tasks. And also, it's just a nice, friendly voice, and it takes a message and it lets the patient know that we're going to call them right back with the information that gave us.
Sure. And what led you to start adopting some of this new technology? And and Mango Voice, that's really interesting.
Yeah, well, and also Pearl AI with a radiographic interpretation, second opinion. It's great. It's nice to have another pair of eyes to check our X-rays. And then Curve Dental is in the cloud software. My dad's an engineer, and I've always been into tech even before I got into dentistry. I always liked the latest and greatest toys. Now, the thing with tech is when you're going to pioneer, you have to deal with the hiccups and the bumps in the road, especially if you're going to be the first one to adopt something. So for me, when I adopt something, I tell my team, look, I don't have all the answers. Nobody has all the answers for this. I said the exact thing when we did Mango Voice's AI receptionist. I said, look, there are going to be people that complain. There are going to be things that that get hiccups. We just have to be committed to solving the issues. So the feedback that the patients give us when they call, that we got to take that for granted, and we work with the team at Mango. We're like, hey, you know what? Can we change this? One of the things we did with the Mango AI agents to give it some personality is because I have the two locations. I have twin girls, and I have pictures of them in the office. Their names are Scarlett and Harper. So we actually named this AI agents Scarlett and Harper. In Bedford, Harper is their AI agent. She'll introduce herself. Hey, this is Harper, and then Scarlett's over in Bedford. So we had a little fun with it. Like I said to you, we're here to create smiles, figuratively and literally.
Sure. How did your front of house staff, how did they feel about kind of adopting this new technology, and how do you keep them feeling confident in the choices there?
Any technology I've ever implemented, I'll tell you it's a bell curve. A third of people are excited. A third of people is like, I'll wait to see what this happens. And a third of people are just always against it. And when I say that, that's just staff. That's patients, how people react. So, I've gone through this. And then over time, the people in the middle that are like, they start to gain traction. The last third, sometimes you never get them over. I'm not gonna lie to you. But they do come over when they see everybody's doing it.
Sure. Well, what about growth between the two practices? I mean, you were saying, what kind of parallels were there between starting from scratch and then buying a practice? I mean, are you seeing similar systems working, or you had to implement different strategies in order to see success with each of them?
Different strategies for each of them. So what I would say to you is, if you have kids, as you have a newborn and you have to change its diapers and you have to be around more. But as your newborn grows up, they'll learn to put on their own clothes. They can go to the bathroom, and they'll go be on their own, and they don't need as much of your time. So I use that exact analogy for the offices. My Westford office is grown up. It's like a teenager, and yes, it still needs me for certain things. However, it has systems and it knows what to do. The scratch startup, because I had to hire new staff there, and it's like an infant. For the first couple years, it was hey, what do we do with this when this happens? We don't have the resources like the other office does because we're smaller and we don't have the patient volume. But in order to get there, a lot of people had to wear many hats. Whereas in Westford, we had bigger staff, and someone was like, "Oh, I only do insurance. I do this. I only do root canals. I only work with a pediatric dentist." So we could divide and conquer it in that way. But when you're in a smaller practice, and those for those private practice single doctor owners, they know what I'm saying. They have to wear many hats.
How are you integrating with each community differently? I mean, do you do like study groups, or is there some learning or education that goes on between you and the communities that each practice is in?
Yeah, so we actually joined BNI, business networking groups, and also we're in the Chamber of Commerce for both towns. That way, we get to know, what's going on, because we're part of the community, and we should be. And then, come September, Bedford has a Bedford Day, and Westford has the West Fest, and we always are involved in the community, and we should be because most of our patients live in the community.
Yeah, it's kind of a symbiotic system
Yeah.
that you have to maintain. Well, are you thinking about expanding locations, or what are you most focused on right now for growth?
Nick, not right now. I'm having fun with what it is right now and mentoring the young doctors that are with me. I just want to get my Bedford up to, because the Westford location's at 8 chairs. The Bedford one is at 4 chairs. If I can get the Bedford and 8 chairs, I'm 48 years old, Nick. I would say I'm in the back half of on an 18-hole golf course. I'm on the back nine. So I would say I'm at like hole 12, 13. So I also have to be realistic of where this game is going to go. If I complete the 4 more chairs that Bedford needs, I think I'll be pretty happy.
Sure. I mean, and you've taken some big risks thinking about battling through COVID. Well, what I mean, are there more I know you're on the back nine, but are there more risks that you'd be willing to take, or like what's kind of the next big operational milestone that you're hoping to achieve?
You know, I will always have a cup of coffee with someone and to talk ideas. I'm never going to close the door. I'm always open to ideas. So I'm never going to say never. I do some work with Pearl Advisory, and then same with Bola. And now even with Mango, I'm having fun just playing around with the AI agents. I also have been to a lot of trade shows, courtesy of Curve, to tell other dental offices my experience with their software and how being on the cloud has been a game changer. Not only that, Curve has a mobile app that allows me to be connected with my patients 24/7.
Are you using AI at all for actually acquiring the patients before the communicating or connecting with them?
Not yet. There is. I'm again open to learning about it. I'll tell you the couple projects that we're on is I'm working with a company called Get Reach, and that's where we actually, because I talked to you about staffing issues, where we can hire a virtual assistant remotely, and we're actually going to onboard them this coming Monday. So I'm really excited to see how that goes. I don't really have much to talk about it because I haven't actually experienced it, but I will say the interview process has been impressive, and the company has been top notch.
Good, good. So where do you see all this going in the next 5 to 10 years? What would surprise you as far as technology, or maybe lab, or AI or marketing? What would really surprise you, or where do you see things headed?
Well, this is just the beginning. I really feel that way. You know, it's all that what if game, right? What if I told you that, if someone said to me 10 years ago, what if I told you you could look at a patient's chart from anywhere you are? What if I told you that you can call anybody off of your cell phone, and it would look like it's coming from your office? What if I told you that we don't have to type your notes, that Mango can actually you know type your notes for you if you whenever you talk to a patient, because they'll do call summaries, and it just integrates right with the PMS, like in Curve Dental. There are so many things like Bola AI is voice activated perio charting, and then voice to notes, and then that's another thing. Oh, sorry about this. There you go. They're on sensors.
Yeah,
Apologize. That's what the problem with having everything automated, right?
right. Yeah.
The AI doesn't. They thought I left the office. That's a perfect example.
Yeah, it is.
And then, Nick, one of the other things that I'm excited to talk about, and I can't really dive much into it because I literally just met with them yesterday, is ultra thin veneers. There's zirconia veneers and I haven't used them yet, but I'm actually very excited to get started. I just want to give that company a shout out. Ultra Thin Ears. I don't even know how to describe it. They're 3D printed, but they're actually a professional grade 3D printer, and they're milling them so thin that they're no prep, and nobody wants to prep. So now, as I say this to you, seeing is believing, right? So it all sounds good on paper, but so I want to test that out, and I'm going to look for some patients that are going to be good patients for it, and excited. And when you talk about the future, continuous improvement, Nick. I know I said that a couple times already, but I want to be surrounded by people who want continuous improvement, but I also want to work with companies that are continuous improvement, and that's why you heard of all these different companies that I talked about: Pearl, Curve, Bola, Ultra Thiniers, and Mango. These are the companies I want to partner up with.
And what gets your attention about those companies from the get-go? Like, what are you drawn to when you see some of these new technologies? Why do you give them a shot?
Exactly what I said. If I see that they're in for the long term growth, there are companies that are like, well, we're just solving the solution. Boom, they're just trying to make a quick buck. You can sense it right from the get go. So one of the questions I'm always like, well, what's your 5 year? Where do you see this going? Just like you asked me, where do I see this going?
Yeah.
I see this like they're in it for the long haul, and I want to be partnered with them.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on being in the back nine of the career. That's an exciting, exciting place to be.
Well, I wouldn't mind hitting. I wouldn't mind a couple mulligans.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, COVID's one of them, I guess,
Yeah,
right? We
exactly.
battled through that. Yeah. I really appreciate our conversation today, Dr. Wu. It was very enlightening, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Nick. I really appreciate it. This has been fun.